Hello, you guys. I'm coming back today with a video breaking down a UFC Noche card, which is cracking out to what may be the worst card of the year. This is Diego Lopes versus Gian Silva. This will be happening Saturday, September 13th at Frostbank Center in San Antonio, Texas. My friends, the UFC, since Dana White and TKO Holdings is promoting the Canelo versus Crawford fight, they made sure that the UFC card, even though UFC Noche events are supposed to be hallmark events since they're trying to get into the Mexican market, we're getting nothing but slop this weekend. And Canelo versus Crawford right there is the reason why this event is so bad. We have so many fights that are miserable, and they're likely all going to go to decision. I'm still going to break them down. It's UFC, so I always get excited to watch this on Saturday. I'm starting a new job this week as well, so I'm going to be consistent with my uploads, but they may be at weird times, maybe at these hours. As I'm recording right now, it's 12:56 a.m., so this is probably going to go out at around 3. I have another video that I need to edit as well that I can upload tomorrow. And then I have a PowerPoint for a third video too that I'm going to release likely on Friday. So, it's going to be a busy next at least 3 days for the boys who follow the Beowulf MMA channel. I'm yammering on. Let's get into the picks for this godforsaken card. So yeah, this is all of us. You, me, your buddy who likes watching UFC. This is what all of us are going to look like on Saturday. Just eating our slop. Eating our UFC Noche slop. And liking it too. We're gonna enjoy it. I'm not very excited for Canelo versus Crawford. If I could be candid with you, I don't really care about that fight. The results will be something that I'm interested in, especially if it ends in a knockout. Canelo Alvarez has so much more experience than Terence Crawford, and he's so much larger than him that it seems kind of like a no-brainer. If Terence Crawford somehow manages to pull this off, then he's maybe one of the greatest boxers ever. This may be the single greatest achievement in boxing that I've been present for in my lifetime. I don't know enough about that sport to be able to rank it all time, but this is I don't really care. I don't really care. I don't give a hoot, you guys. I can't even act like I do. So we're gonna eat up our slop. It's gonna be good for us UFC fans. We'll get a 14 fight card of nothing but straight unanimous and split decisions to watch. The same run time as Canelo versus Crawford. So to start us off, we have Rodrigo Sezanado versus Donchiil Donchenko. I buy UFC Fight Pass. I refuse to pay for ESPN Plus since it's not even going to be useful to watch UFC very soon. I'm not just going to start the membership and then cancel it because reasons. But dude, UFC Fight Pass, I pay for that monthly. I still can't watch the most recent season of Tough. And that's undemocratic. Damn, me just saying undemocratic made me think about Charlie Kirk, bro. Rest in peace, him, bro. They did him so bad in that speech conference in Utah, bro. I don't even want to get into none of that. I'm not even political, bro. I think that American politics are so divisive that I've completely withdrawn, dog. But that's wrong, man. That dude had kids, bro. He had a family. What do they do that for? That's not okay. No matter how you feel about a guy's politics, that's never the answer. You're not supposed to do that. What a freaking monster that guy is, man, to take the life of a person in that way in front of all of those people. All he did was make a martyr out of him anyways if he wanted to make some type of larger political statement. Another digression, you guys, I'm sorry. Let's just get into the picks. Sezanado, he showed before the Tough season, which, he's just been spamming grappling in the Tough season. Nothing but just straight up jiu-jitsu master classes, Grant Dawson master classes in this Tough season. But before then, he was boring holes right through all of his opponents. I watched him get some of the most brutal knockouts ever on the regional scene that he came up off of before he got picked up for the Ultimate Fighter and made it to the finale of this season. I liked his victories because of how violent they were. He has this crazy ability to catch people. Donchiil Donchenko has this ability to be caught. And most of his victories that I saw prior to him being on Tough, because I'm just going off of footage that I was able to see and synopsises that were written about these episodes as they happen, Donchiil Donchenko is getting dropped in these fights, dude. He's getting caught. People are having big moments over him. He's more of a striker than Rodrigo Sezanado. I would lean Sezanado in this fight. I think that he's going to win a decision through the grappling, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Donchiil Donchenko getting caught, maybe an overhand, some boxing combination like one of the ones that I watched Rodrigo Sezanado absolutely flatline his opponents with in the fights that I was able to find. Neither of these guys seem to be much of finishers in this Ultimate Fighter season, which is Pretty surprising. Granted, welterweight is one of those weight classes where you can deliver really big knockouts. These guys just weren't doing it. If I'm not mistaken, I was looking at their track records to getting into this finale. Largely, they were each winning decisions. It's just Donchenko was striking to win his decisions. Rodrigo Sezanado was grappling to win his. I think the grappling for Sezanado will be true in this final fight. He will win the finale. Hopefully, I do not eat these words, but I don't have much to go off of. Sezanado via decision. All right, so next we have Monserrat Rendon versus Alice Pereira. I almost Freudian slipped and called Alice Pereira Eileen Pereira, which is Alex Pereira's sister. Alice Pereira has no relation with Alex Pereira, and that's what confused me for a while because I saw Alice Pereira and I was like, okay, well, I mean, she's a tall Brazilian kickboxer, last name Pereira. She's got to be related to Poetan, right? No. That's just profiling. That's low-key racist. Monserrat Rendon, she's a grappler. She's not very good at striking. She's not very good at grappling, to be honest. And her Achilles heel, whenever we're talking about her ability to wrestle these chicks, is whether or not she has a physical advantage over them. She lost to Daria Zelezniakova. Zelezniakova was able to be taken down by Monserrat Rendon. Rendon wasn't able to control Zelezniakova because Zelezniakova was just taller and larger than she was. She was able to get to the cage. She was able to get to one knee and to stand up after she was attempted to be wrestled by Monserrat Rendon. Alice Pereira is massive. She's 19 years old, 5'10". She's a very powerful kickboxer. I saw a bunch of hard sparring clips of her getting after it in the gym, fighting with men. They were definitely restraining themselves because, I mean, this is a girl, but it's a big lady, and she can throw them hoes. I like her fight style personally. I think that Monserrat Rendon, she has the heavies, which is one thing, and her fight with Zelezniakova, I was like, damn, them joints is like, yeah, I mean, but I mean, I would say that Alice Pereira definitely has a lot more advantages. I saw in her last fight, Alice Pereira it was like a video that was recorded to YouTube, and it was uploaded to YouTube, and a guy recorded it like this instead of this. So, like, it was a really bad footage, and the fight itself was horrible. But at certain points, the woman who fought Alice Pereira, this was the fight before she got signed to the UFC, she tried grappling Alice Pereira. Alice Pereira just reversed the positions and controlled the fight on the ground. So that's pretty much all I need to see. Monserrat Rendon is like 40 too. So Alice Pereira could be a fun addition to this weight class. Women's bantamweight needs people who are going for that belt. She could maybe be the youngest UFC champion. Because, I mean, it's kind of wide open. All she really needs to do is beat Kayla Harrison. And that's a big ask. But if she's a really good striker, then she might be able to do it. So, I mean, give me Alice Pereira via decision. She's still young, so if she is able to finish this fight, that's actually a big deal for her. Monserrat Rendon is getting done up by certified grapplers like Eileen Perez and less qualified grapplers like Melissa Mullins. So I think that leaves things wide open for Alice Pereira to be able to get things done in the stand-up, beat up Monserrat Rendon like Daria Zelezniakova was able to do. And if she proves to be at least the grappler that Melissa Mullins is, because Monserrat Rendon ended up avenging the loss to Melissa Mullins, but that's just down to the average skill level of women's bantamweight being at around equal with each other. And on any given day, women around the level of Melissa Mullins and Rendon can beat each other. There's never like a 8 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10. It's 50-50 every time for women's at around this threshold. So if Alice Pereira can prove to be better, then at least those girls, that tier of fighter, she will beat them on a consistent basis. Grapplers like Monserrat Rendon and other women at around this level of grappling proficiency. It's WMMA, dude. Like, what do you want me to say? I have a better opinion here for Alessandro Costa versus Alden Coria. So at first I was going to pick Alden Coria before I went and did a little bit more digging through this guy's UFC Fight Pass fights, like that he has on footage for you to watch. I was like, okay, Alden Coria has some pretty good finishes. He comes off of Fury FC. Fury FC is a certified organization. Alden Coria, he beat this guy named Paris Morin, who, I mean, by the footage, he looked to be like a pretty complete flyweight fighter. But it was overturned to a no contest because Alden Coria was puffing Mota. Kevin Borjas was a fighter who I thought was a lot better than he actually displayed himself to be in his fight against Sumaderji. So I was like, you know what? It's very possible that I've gassed up Alessandro Costa. And I was looking into Alessandro Costa's record and I was watching his fights back. He lost to Steve Erceg, and Steve Erceg shows a lot of resemblances. I should say at least Alden Coria shows a lot of resemblance to Steven Erceg. in the boxing. The stand-up is very similar. But the thing that won Steve Erceg his fight against Alessandro Costa is the grappling chops of Erceg, which he displayed again against Ode Osborne. That wasn't just some fluke or new wrinkle in his game that he pulled out of his back pocket to beat Ode Osborne. It could be argued that Erceg is a better grappler than he is a boxer. His boxing is pretty tidy. The same cannot be said for Alden Correa. If you do make the fight messy and you're busy and you outwork people and even just the cage clinch sequences, you can beat Alden Correa, and it's not that big of a deal for you to do most of the time. Correa only sometimes displays the ability to control flyweights in the clinch. But there was this guy named Abel Trujillo whenever he went back to Aries FC. And it's funny because the order of events went that Alden Correa, he fought in LFA for a little bit. He took like 2 L's in that promotion and he won like 3 fights. He goes back to Fury FC after winning a fight. Fights this dude named Abel Trujillo, who was like a failed title challenger. The guy was like 5'2". He beat Alden Correa in a fight. And he was just outworking him. Just clinching him, holding him in front headlock position, getting to the clinch, striking in the clinch. Alden Correa didn't really have any answers for it. This is the entirety of Alessandro Costa's game. Is just being busier than his opponent. And it's like a death by 1,000 cuts. That's how he finished Kevin Borjas. And for fighters who just won't do anything, they get finished by Alessandro Costa. I don't think it will be that easy for him this time, but I definitely see him. You're going to see this a lot. These guys are going to be winning by decisions. This is going to be a very decision-heavy card. I wouldn't be surprised if we're like praying for the sweet release of death before the main card even begins due to how many decisions that we watch. Hopefully I'm wrong. Coming off the heels of Paris, which was the most knockouts in a single card's history. That was an actual historical event that we just watched last weekend. They're making sure that this is going to take up the full docket as far as runtime goes. The matchmaking is not conducive to people getting finished in these fights. There was a point in the Erceg fight where Costa did drop Erceg too. He's sneakily good at striking. Sneakily, I think that's a word. He could drop Alden Correa, and once they get down to the ground, I would say that Costa has him completely in his world. I would say Alessandro Costa is a really big step up from guys who he would have been fighting in Aries FC, and Correa isn't beating all of those people. Not all of them. There's certain guys who resemble the style of Alessandro Costa who are able to win decisions over him. I think that Costa is going to win a decision. Next, we have Zachary Reese versus Sedriques Dumas. Alright, so I used to glaze Zachary Reese for no reason. I used to actually like be a fan of this guy and be like, I think that he's going to do something in this division. I think he's going to be something. And my worst take since I started making content about the UFC is picking Zachary Reese to beat Azamat Bakoyev. I genuinely thought it was going to unfold that way. I was like, I picked against Azamat Bakoyev twice at this point. I picked Ryan Loder, I picked Zachary Reese. Those were both like remedial analysis. I'm not even going to make excuses for myself. That was horrible. Zachary Reese is like... He's like a weaker chin away from being another Paul Craig type of deal. I mean, I guess he can hurt people out in the open range, and Paul Craig doesn't have that ability at all. But this is a guy who's going to pull guard. Like, he's literally going to pull guard in these fights, and he's going to try to play off of his back, and that's going to get him knocked out sometimes, like in the Bakoyev fight. Fighters who have a physical strength advantage over him, like Bakoyev. I think this guy was getting, like, power-bombed as well. Brundage might have power-bombed this dude. Yeah, this dude got freaking Toshiomi Kazama'd, like, before that was a term that we used to describe that. Sedriques Dumas is probably stronger than this guy. Zachary Reese is super finishable. Sedriques Dumas is pretty finishable as well. But as far as matchmaking goes, Dumas has been getting harder fights. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, Nursultan Rozaboyev, and it's really hard for me to remember all of the guys that Sedriques Dumas has been fighting because he doesn't fight. He's been getting into a lot of trouble with the law. He violated his probation, and they found him while he was on the run with like a firearm, and he was hiding in a dog crate, and he was on probation because he hit his woman, and that's the reason why nobody's picking him to win this fight, or very few people are actually seriously considering siding with Sedriques Dumas. It's because they have their personal biases against what he was taken to the big house for. It's nasty business, but I mean, looking at the fight objectively, both of these guys, not very good. I don't think that Reese would beat Oleksiejczuk or he would beat Rozaboyev. The only horrible loss that Sedriques Dumas has taken in his career is Josh Fremd. Josh Fremd is a fight. I can't make excuses for that. But that was like 2022. So, I mean, maybe we write it off. Maybe it's a new day. I see on his Instagram, the guy's been training with Nicky Rod, of all people. The Gooner and the domestic violence guy, a match made in hell. This is what I'm thinking, right? The reason why Sedriques Dumas had to pull out of his last fight was because he couldn't get off of the ankle monitor. The court wouldn't approve it for him to make it to the octagon. So he is always training MMA with the ankle monitor still on. What I'm trying to say is, like, the gym is the only place that he's, like, allowed to be going to on a weekly basis other than his home because he's on house arrest. So he's got to be locked in. There's no way this guy is, like, smoking dope and being in the streets and doing things that would take his attention away from fighting. He's using fighting to rehabilitate himself to be a functioning member of society. So he's probably all in on this. Give me Famous Dex winning this decision is what I'm trying to say. I know domestic violence is not an honorable crime. There's no such thing as an honorable crime, but that's an especially dishonorable one. Hitting your women, that kind of goes without saying. But I feel like people aren't even analyzing this fight because they can't get over that. I think that Dumas is going to win this, but I mean, he might get choked. Give me the Dumas decision, man. All right, next we have Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Gurule at flyweight. So Ode Osborne is rearing his head as another guy who I will mention again. Ode Osborne, he chinned Luis Gurule so badly. Oh my gosh. Luis Gurule, he's a grappler. He's going to come out. He will try to wrestle Jesus Aguilar. Aguilar throws bombs. He has what may be one of the best knockouts or the best knockout that I've ever seen in my life in the 125-pound division over Shannon Ross. Shannon Ross is a very chinnable fighter. But I still give credence to the fact that Jesus Aguilar can consistently hurt his grappling opponents in this weight class. He fought Rafael Estevam, and he was doing really good work on the feet. It's just the thing that the guy was making the mistake of pulling guillotines whenever Estevam would enter for clinches and try to transition and convert those into takedowns. He was just jumping guillotine, and he would end up on bottom in really bad positions. Luis Gurule is the type of guy who can get chinned or get his bell rung, and he'll start panic wrestling. He may get subbed by Jesus Aguilar if he doesn't just get knocked out on the feet and then mounted or dropped and then neon belly finish or something like this. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. We're going to get a round 2 KO. Maybe a round 2 drop and sub. Maybe like that boy Luis Gurule is going to get dropped. You know, whenever people, they like post on all fours and they start to just wrestle from there if that's their instinct. Jesus Aguilar can capitalize on this because, I mean, his guillotine isn't bad. It's just he chooses to use it at really weird times. I think that he could complete the submission, though, in a fight like this. Aguilar just has a lot more advantages on paper. Luis Gurule, he did not put on a good account for himself in his last fight against Ode Osborne. So I think that another striker who's also very erratic and wild and powerful can also find success in a fight against Luis Gurule. So give me that round 2 KO for Aguilar in this fight. We're going to move on to the next one. All right, so I mean, we don't bet here in general. At least I don't bet. But if you are a bettor and you're thinking about putting money on this fight, like you hate your life. Why would you put US dollars on this fight? Like, really ask yourself, if you're thinking about like adding this to your parlay, why? This isn't easy money. Both of these guys suck, or women. Both of them suck. Amanda Lemos, she gets put on ice by grapplers like we saw in the Yasmin Lucindo fight. And she has this tendency to not really do anything. I guess even in the Wei Li fight, whenever she started getting grappled, she just didn't go first because she was worried about getting taken down. Verna Jandaroba even got her up out of there super quick with I think it was like a triangle armbar or something. She just subbed her immediately. But in a fight like the Yasmin Lucindo one, neither of them really did anything because Lucindo was worried about getting knocked out. Lemos was worried about getting wrestled. And so they just kind of feinted at each other for 15 minutes or 12 minutes, however long it took for both of them to gas out. And they just both gassed out and put on an even worse fight. I think that there was a total of like 5 significant strikes landed for Amanda Lemos and maybe like 8 total strikes between the two of them. It was so crazy how low output that fight was. Suarez, she fought with Zhang Wei Li off of a 2-year layoff due to some health stuff that she was encountering. She got beat up really bad in that fight. I mean, she did stay consistent in her attempts to wrestle, but after the first takedown that she got in round 1, it just stopped working, her attempts at wrestling. My guess is that Tatiana Suarez comes out with a wrestle-heavy offensive game plan to start. Maybe she's clinching as well. This fight is largely going to look like Yasmin Lucindo versus Amanda Lemos. Amanda Lemos just needs to connect with like one solid jab or a straight punch or something. Tatiana Suarez is not going to want to engage. This is going to be a boring fight. It's going to end in decision. I think that Amanda Lemos is going to win because she's going to have more stamina than Tatiana Suarez, who's going to be trying to get on the inside, but just getting her shot stuffed and eating a jab whenever she tries her entries. I don't see Tatiana Suarez coming out and sprinting in this fight, like trying to get her up out of there. I think she's going to be trying to pace herself to win a decision herself. It's not going to go well because she's going to get tired. Amanda Lemos is going to show power. Even though she's 38 years old, that doesn't really seem to matter in the women's weight classes. If Angela Hill is able to win fights against women like, what is the girl's name? Ketlin Souza, and she's like 800 years old, you can be an old lady and still win in this weight class. Tatiana Suarez's wrestling is just going to stop working at a certain point in this fight, and then we're just going to fall asleep at our desks and do like the fint fold out of sheer boredom. So that's what I'm going to pick. Lemos via decision. God, so many decisions on this. Surprise, surprise, another decision. And it's going to go to Claudio Puelles in his fight with Joaquim Silva at lightweight. Puelles, he is a bad striker. And his only way of finishing fights is through submissions. Joaquim Silva's never been submitted before. Claudio Puelles, he can keep himself safe by inverting his guard and attacking legs. And what that's going to do is most of the time stalemate himself with his opponent who may have the advantages, controlling a dominant position on the ground. He'll be able to scramble out of it and get back to his feet. He's not completely useless in the clinch. Joaquim Silva, he lost to Drakkar Klose, and he was just getting clinched the whole time. To be fair, though, Joaquim Silva has shown in the past some shades of being decent competition for higher-level fighters. In that Drakkar Klose fight, he was able to drop Drakkar Klose in the third round, but most notably, he fought with Arman Tsarukyan, and he lasted 3 rounds before getting TKO'd. And he rocked Arman Tsarukyan at one point in the fight as well. Both of these guys have had their last wins over Clay Guida. Claudio Puelles, he finished Clay Guida with a knee bar. He loves that submission. He's a knee bar merchant. Joaquim Silva just won via decision. Silva's kind of like a free win in my eyes. If Drakkar Klose is beating you, you're a free win. And I know that Claudio Puelles is bad. I just don't deem him to be completely awful. And I will be wrong in saying that. If he does come out and choke this fight somehow and lose to Joaquim Silva, I'm never picking him again because he's just too bad. If he sells this, I'll never believe in him again. So give me that Claudio Puelles decision. Jose Medina versus Dusko Todorovic. What are they doing? We have nothing but slop this weekend. This is by far the worst UFC Noche card I've ever been present for. We were in the Sphere last year, and that was still like a weak scheduled card, and people were talking about, yeah, you guys should have brought better fighters to the Sphere, but this time, like, they just said, forget it, man. So we have Jose Medina, who's a guy who got slumped by Atiba Gautier. Dusko Todorovic, who's a guy who got knocked out by Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and both fighters have lost a decision to Zachary Reese. Why are they fighting in the featured prelim? Dusko Todorovic has also been knocked out by Chidi Njokuani, Punahele Soriano whenever he was still a middleweight, and also a certified lover Duncan, Christian Leroy Duncan. I want to believe in Todorovic because I actually did pick him to win a fight against Zachary Reese because I didn't think that he was completely terrible, but he actually is. Jose Medina is a guy who didn't even properly get a contract off of the Contender Series. He lost his fight there to Magomed Gadziasulov, got brought on to fight with Zachary Reese on short notice, lost that fight, and then he got match made with Atiba Gautier just as a guy to showcase Atiba Gautier's skills, and now he's here doing this. Both of these guys are fighting for their jobs, it feels like. Dusko Todorovic actually does have some level of accomplishments in the UFC, though. Maybe not since the year 2020. I think he beat Maki Pitolo, like coconut bombs. That's the only reason why I even know who that is I remember that he used to tape his earring holes, and he used to call himself Coconut Bombs. And this was like 2021. The guy hasn't even done anything since then. I don't know how he's in the UFC still. This is going to be a record for the most decisions on the card. For some reason, though, I feel like in these like absolute pig slop fights, we get finishes in them. So I'm going to pick Todorovic to win via round 1 KO. Super low confidence in this pick. This is really pissing me off, dude. Like, what is that? What is this? So I suppose this is going to be our featured prelim. I don't know why Jose Medina versus Dusko Todorovic is so high on the card. Like, why? What is the point of that? All right, so here's my thing for this, right? Alexander Hernandez versus Diego Ferreira. Through the process of Diego Ferreira getting knockout wins over Michael Johnson, who's 39, and Mateusz Rebecki, who is not as good as we all thought that he was after further review, we're forgetting that Diego Ferreira is 40 years old. And that matters here because Alexander Hernandez is 32, and it's very likely that he was developing on the ground to combat a grappling heavy game plan from Chase Hooper, which never ended up happening because he just knocked him out too fast. After further review and seeing how overrated Mateusz Rebecki is, I would have liked King Green's chances of beating Diego Ferreira in their fight. Granted, he never hurt his knee, like right before they were about to fight in Chicago. Hernandez is a guy who historically they've been using to test old dudes in this division. And since 2023, he's been like a 500 fighter versus these crafty vets. He's no stranger to getting match made with guys like Damon Jackson or like Kurt Hollaba or like Austin Hubbard. Old dudes. And this year he's on a hot streak. He's fought twice already. He's won a unanimous decision over Kurt Hollaba. And then he's just knocked out Chase Hooper, which is a really big win. He's riding the momentum of that. I think that they are cutting him a break, giving him a fight like Diego Ferreira, who's just another veteran, versus giving him a fighter like one of these dudes off of the Contender Series, like Mandel Nalo, or even a fighter like Chris Duncan, who wants the winner of this fight, just giving him Alexander Hernandez just right off the rip. I think that both of those guys would serve him up. This is a very winnable fight for him, so I think he's gonna win a decision, you guys. The main card, surprise, surprise, it's more slop. This is exactly what the UFC Noche card looks like. On the outside, they have the nice graphic. We have Gian Silva versus Diego Lopes. And then you take a bite into the Krabby Patty, and it's just gray slop in it. It's nothing but a bunch of slop. So to get us going, we have Santiago Luna versus Kwang Lee. Oh my god, man. Look at Kwang Lee's full name. Kwang fuck fam Lee, bro. Come on, that's my boy. Boot me up. Alright, so Santiago Luna, Border Boy. I thought that was pretty funny, his nickname being Border Boy. It's funny. This guy is a wrestler through and through. I think that he's like some state level wrestler. He's from San Diego, fights out of Mexico, but I think he went to school in America. So Santiago Luna, he's a featherweight. He's going to be fighting at bantamweight, so he's going to be dehydrating himself. He can do it. He's 21 years old. It's fine. Super untested, though. He's going to be the favorite in this fight. Kwang Lee is a dude who's demonstrated some chops on the ground as a grappler himself, though. He took Chris Gutierrez to a decision in a fight where people lost respect for Chris Gutierrez because it was so close with Kwang Lee. Kwang Lee sticks to a grappling game plan in order to win his fights a majority of the time. He out-grappled Gaston Bolaños. He ended up choking him out in that fight. Xiao Long, he ended up beating Kwang Lee by knocking him out cold, but I mean, that's kind of what you have to do in order to beat him because this guy is going to have cardio in order to make it through grappling sequences. He's not just going to fold up. At least I don't think he is. Santiago Luna has just been able to do whatever he wants to guys who are super green on the Mexico regional circuit. Whenever he's fighting them, he just gets to wrestle for free and get to any type of submission or TKO win that he wants. Luna, he heavily relies on his ability to wrestle to the point of being able to be considered one-dimensional. I think that Kwang Lee, he's a better striker than Santiago Luna is going to be, and he knows just enough about grappling to be able to keep himself in positions where he would be suffering from the offense of Santiago Luna's grappling. I don't see him getting choked in this fight. I don't see him getting TKO'd. I think that he can keep the fight standing and rip to the body and get Santiago Luna very tired to the point where his wrestling is no longer effective because his shots just aren't strong. Or he just gets choked immediately, which, I mean, that's another outcome of this. I don't think that it's going to happen, though. I think that Kwang Lee is going to win via decision. He has fought with UFC-rated talent. Santiago Luna does not have that same resume experience. He's just been beating up cans. Kwang Lee is in this position where he can go out bad and put on this really untested guy who's getting a fast track into the UFC, Santiago Luna, or he can put on a very veteran level performance and rim pack this guy who I don't think deserves to be here. Even though he does display that he has above average skills in wrestling. So I'm going to pick that Kwang Lee decision. So next we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Dustin Stoltzfus at middleweight. Kelvin proved in his last fight with Joe P that he will never be KO'd. Like, this man, he will never be KO'd. He was eating flush hooks from Joe Pyfer throughout different rounds and stages of the fight where he had less and less stamina and he was not getting knocked out. This guy is unchinnable. It hasn't happened in 30 fights. It will not happen. Of all the people who have fought with Kelvin Gastelum, put on wars with him, and have tried to knock him out brutally and just haven't been able to do it, if it ends up being Dustin Stoltzfus who can get it done, I will laugh, but I will at the same time be shell-shocked that will flabbergast me decently. Since 2021, Dustin Stoltzfus has been on this track where he's been winning one and losing one for 7 different fights now. He last lost to Nursultan Rozaboev. This is not a fight where I think he's going to get back on track. This is a guy, Kelvin Gastelum, who doesn't really need a win, because I don't think that either of them are really fighting for their jobs. If Dustin Stoltzfus takes a bad loss in this fight, then yeah, maybe he's fighting for his job. This seems like a fight where Dustin Stoltzfus could get sandblasted by Kelvin Gastelum. Like a big knockout. Because Kelvin Gastelum totally beats fighters of this caliber. I don't think that he's much more of a sophisticated MMA fighter than D-Rod even. Dustin Stoltzfus. Bruno Ferreira is a guy who blicked up Dustin Stoltzfus last year, and I would liken Kelvin Gastelum to like a Bruno Ferreira. He's like a worse American version of Bruno Ferreira. I still think that Kelvin can slump Dustin Stoltzfus in round 1. He has a history of being knocked out by fighters in the first round, so yeah, let's predict a Kelvin Gastelum round 1 knockout. Of all people to get brutal finishes on this card, I think that Kelvin Gastelum is kind of due for one. I think he can do this. The featured fight of the evening is going to be Rafa Garcia versus Jared Gordon at lightweight. Tell me why Rafa Garcia is about to get packed up by Jared Flash Gordon. I feel it in my bones. I don't know why. I mean, I know why. It's because Jared Gordon is the type of fighter who beats this caliber of opponent. And I was really on the fence as to like what type of fighter Jared Gordon was. If he was just a placeholder old guy for certain people to beat, or if he's a dude who can pretty consistently notch good performances or even knockouts sometimes, and it's the latter. After the Thiago Moises fight, he's shown that if you are at around this level, which I mean, that's not really an exceedingly low level Thiago Moises, like he can knock out some pretty decent fighters or who we think are like okay middle of the road competition. He has losses to Nasrat Haqparast and Paddy Pimblett by decision. And there's an asterisk next to the Paddy Pimblett fight because Paddy got hurt in the first round. He broke his foot or whatever. On top of this, he did get choked out by Grant Dawson in the 3rd round of their fight, which is longer than a lot of people last. And every so often, they'll give Gordon a fight like Mark Madsen or like Joe Selecki or like Chris Fishgold or Thiago Moises or Rafa Garcia. And he tunes up these guys on a regular basis or he knocks them out. I think that this fight is going to be no different. I think that he will at the very least win via decision. But I largely like to imagine that Jared Gordon is a cut above the rest of this tier of fighter and that he will be able to finish this fight via knockout if it really did come to it versus just winning a decision. So Jared Gordon via round 1 KO is what I'm going to select for this fight. He's going to give us another beautiful knockout like he finished Thiago Moises with. I feel it. I feel it. The co-main event is going to be Rob Font versus David Martinez at bantamweight. So aside from the main event, which I mean is going to be a splendid fight, I'm assuming, I was really excited to watch Rob Font fight with Raul Rosas Jr. And the fact that it's not happening anymore and we don't get to hear chee-wee-wees. I mean, I didn't think that he was going to win the fight anyways. But I mean, there would have been chee-wee-wees in the fight, but weak build-up, which would have been funny. It takes a little bit off of this for me, for sure. I was actually really excited to watch that fight. We're not going to get to watch it anymore. I think we have another John Matsumoto situation on our hands. I mean, John Matsumoto came from Muay Thai kickboxing with like a lot of accolades there. But I mean, he still just got beat up by Rob Font. And even John Matsumoto, he was even undefeated too. David Martinez does have 1 loss on his record. Went to like a pretty boring fight with the guy on the Contender Series. And then he knocked out Simon Oliveira. Simon Oliveira, that's like a Shannon Ross level win. If I were to pick David Martinez to win this fight, it would be the same thing as me picking Hansung Park to beat Tatsuro Taira. Because it would be off of the basis of him knocking out Simon Oliveira. And Simon Oliveira is not good. I think that the jab of Rob Font, even though he's 38, it will break every single up-and-coming prospect who the organization decides to give a hop up in the rankings on short notice. The only reason why the Matsumoto fight even materialized for John is because Dominic Cruz hurt himself in his training camp and he couldn't make the fight with Rob Font whenever they were scheduled to scrap in February of this year. Rob Font, he's 38. It just doesn't matter to me. David Martinez, he's too new to this. And we've been through way too much with Font. And Font has been through way too much in this division in order to drop a win to a guy like this. Stu does not set up any of his entries before he just throws like a naked rear uppercut or lunges in with a straight punch. He's just going to be headbutting the lead hand of Rob Font. And his face is going to get opened up. I think it'll be like a death by 1,000 cuts type of deal. This would more likely end in a decision than not, but I'm going to select a round 3 KO. It's going to be like a late stoppage for Rob Font. The damage will just be way too much over time. My boy Robert is going to win this fight, and it will be very good. All right, so this is going to take us on to the main event. I'm excited for this fight. Diego Lopes versus Gian Silva at featherweight. This will be for the number 2 ranking of Diego Lopes, Gian Silva. He took Bryce Mitchell's spot in the rankings. He's like top 10, I think. He's ranked exactly number 10. And off of the basis of Diego Lopes having 5-round experience, any at all, he fought with Volk to a decision loss over the course of 5 rounds. That will put him ahead of Gian Silva in the eyes of many. But there's things to weigh here, right? We don't know how washed Volk is yet. We don't know if that was a significant test for him just to win the belt off of. It was a vacant title. The guy had been knocked out 2 times. Diego Lopes landed a flush punch that dropped Volk, and he wasn't able to finish. I don't think his finishing instincts are that good. Diego Lopes. He's very plotty. This guy is like Jamal Hill level footwork, and people just ignore it for some reason. They don't pay any acknowledgement to it. He does move forward, but he's trudging like he's wearing cement shoes. And if you do want to keep yourself safe from this ruthless aggression, all you have to do is like move that way or move that way. And Gian Silva, it looks like he's ice skating whenever he's striking. This is a case of 2 things being able to be true at once, right? Are the fighting nerds overhyped? And is it true that all 4 of those guys are a lot better in our heads than they actually are in real life? Yes. Yes. But that's not to say that any of those guys are like actually bad fighters. They're just overrated. And I think that Gian Silva, especially out of all of them, is one of the guys who may actually deserve his hype. I don't think that he's doomed to fail just because the rest of his buddies have taken bad losses in their first big ranked matchup. Plot armor is not a real thing. You either win a fight or you lose a fight. The only thing that matters in MMA competition is the preparation that you've done and refining your skills so that you're better than your opponent whenever you're in there. And so far, Gian Silva has proven that he's better than his opponents to the point where he can finish them. Diego Lopes has finishes too, but I mean, even if you want to directly compare resumes, neither of these guys have really done much. Diego Lopes' best achievements are the 2 fights that he's lost since he's been in the organization. Almost knee-barring Movsar Evloev, and then his 5-round fight with Volkanovski, if you want to count that for anything. Each of those fights are like the pinnacle of his accolades that he's achieved in the UFC, because knockouts over Sedriques Youssef, Pat Sabatini, and beating Brian Ortega the way that he did, that's not really doing it for me. I rate Gian Silva's win over Drew Dober higher than like pretty much all of those wins leading up to, or even his fight with Kevin Vachejos, as we're touting Kevin Vachejos to be like the next big thing at featherweight, or we were before he got into that fight with Danny Silva and proved that he may not be who we thought he was. Gian Silva beat that guy by decision, so it's not like he has to win via finish. It's just that he's opting to do it because he has the ability to do it. And maybe there's a layer of luck that goes into winning in this sport. Sometimes you are Cody Brundage and Andre Petrosky headbutt your hip and he knocks himself out. But what's it with Gian Silva having the ground that he walked on being kissed by the same people that are now rooting for him to lose this fight on Saturday? Because of what, a money line? Like, are we not watching the fights as like our first point of reference to make these predictions? Are we just looking at the betting odds? Is that the only thing that matters? Diego Lopes, he has this weird take where he scratches his chin. And I think that that's going to create openings for him to get hit by Gian Silva in this fight. I think he's going to be getting lit up doing this because he can't. It's like a nervous habit whenever he's in there. He's talked about it even. Gian Silva, with his weird striking rhythm, and Diego Lopes's weird striking rhythm is going to help him. I'm not going to say he's going to do whatever he wants to Diego Lopes, but he's going to be scoring. And Diego Lopes doesn't have the same finishing threat that Gian Silva does because he tattooed Volk with that straight punch. It landed super clean. And what did Volkanovski do? He posted on all fours and he recovered immediately and fought for 2.5 more rounds like nothing had even happened. So I think that we could debate how much power Diego Lopes has in his hands as well, even though he was able to score finishes like the one that he got over Sedriques Youssef. You can't sit here and tell me that Gian Silva would not be able to knock that guy out the same way. Or even better. I think that Gian Silva, by and large, has more finishing capabilities whenever it comes to being able to cut angles and precisely land his best shots on people. Diego Lopes, he just stands right in front of you, and he either hits you or he misses. If you refuse to phone booth exchange with Diego Lopes, you don't get hit with his biggest strike. So, I mean, I feel like this is what it's coming down to. People either want Gian Silva to get exposed this weekend because they're gamblers, or they don't like how Silva openly supports Israel. And I mean, like, dude, you're entitled to however you want to feel and like whatever your political views are. I just like watching knockouts, and I think that Gian Silva has the best shot of giving us the KO that I'm trying to see. So I'm going to pick him to win via round 3 KO. And I'm really hoping for a highlight reel in the main event because I think that the rest of the card is going to absolutely be so snoozy. Like, we're going to barely be awake by the end of it. I maybe clicked over into the Canelo Crawford stream just because it'll be something to do. And that fight's probably going to go to a decision as well. Because all premier boxing fights end up just going to decision, bro. Somebody give us a brutal knockout on the night. I don't care what sport it's in. I just want to see somebody get absolutely clocked and go to bed. Yes, this is going to be my full predictions recap. Right there. Not going to go through everything again. But yeah, 14 fights on this card. Let me actually count them real quick. 5, 9. Yeah, 14 fights. Just gross food. That's just all this card reminds me of. Banana, ham, and cheese. I'm about to get sick to my stomach looking at that. So gross. Brazil, man, rip homie. And that's the funniest part about all of this. These guys who were like, free Palestine, they're going to be riding with Charles next week. And do I need to show you the photo of the Oliveira sash that he walked out wearing before he fought Arman Sarukian? If you know, you know, bro. All I ask is that if you're going to politicize this sport, just be consistent. Because we all have our fan favorites and stuff. If you're going to really take the stance like you don't like this guy because he's a Zionist, like you don't like any Brazilian fighter because they all, for some reason, just really rock with Israel. It doesn't make a difference to me, bro, because I just really don't care. But I mean, I know that some people do, but they pick and choose whenever it is a pressing issue to them. And that's the thing that I just don't get. So, yes, I will see you guys in the recap. I have 2 more uploads that I will make before the card on Saturday. I will stream Fight Companion as well. This slideshow actually took me a while to make. And as I am going to be starting my new job, I will continue to make the slides for the predictions, but it is work. So please do like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to this point in the video. I will catch you fellas in the next upload.